Hey, Vision. Okay, I need to talk for a minute about if you ever been a place where you didn't feel like you belonged. You walked in somewhere, you're like, man, this doesn't feel right, or I don't feel like I fit, or I definitely need to get back home. I'm in a place where I don't belong. Now, for me, you don't have to go far to find one. About 30 minutes from here, there's a place called South Park Mall. Okay, now who here likes to shop South Park? Is that not to me? No, okay, because the reality is, when I go over to South Park, which is not very often, and I walk on in, and okay, I'm instantly I come through the doors and I feel like, okay, this isn't me. I mean, first of all, a mall, but definitely South Park Mall. And I'm walking in there and I'm seeing, like, on the rack for men, green shorts with pink shirt and a bow tie. I'm thinking, man, if I wore that to Vision one Sunday, yeah, exactly. That is exactly what would help. That's what happened. That's what happened. Okay, then I'm walking and I'm like hit by like the smells. You know, there's like, you know, the perfume's knocking me out. The cologne is like, oh, and if you know me, I don't do smells. I mean, the most smell I would do is like Coast soap. Okay, so that's not me. And then, you know, the worst part is that when you go look at the price tags, and I'll say, man, that's a nice looking pair of jeans. I'll check that. I'm like, $150 for a pair of jeans? And like, shirt sale. Okay, that's me, sale. So I go check out sale, shirt sale, $90. I'm like, and even the salesman there looking at me like, you don't belong here. I'm like, you're right. I need to get back to Gaston County. I'm going back across the river where I belong. And so if you've ever been in a spot where you feel like you don't belong, whether it's a mall or some place, you can relate to this guy we're going to talk about today. His name's Caleb. And he was in a spot where he realized he wasn't where he belonged. We're in week 7 of Starting Point. The first 6 weeks, we have had a great time. 5 weeks, we dug through these different topics, and last week we talked about generosity, a lifestyle of generosity. And going into last Sunday, it was cool because we already had seen different things happen in our church. We'll pull up some pictures. We talked one week about we needed food for Ashbrook, that we're going to have a teacher that goes here that tutors those students. I said, can you give so we can provide food for those students? And he gave. Then I said, we want to send some of the students from Southwest Middle to camp. We're taking our students. We'd love to send some of them. And we had handfuls of people that said, we will give so that students at Southwest can go to camp. It was generosity. And then last week, oh man, it was so cool. So you came in here and talked about how generous God is to us and how moms are generous. And I put out this ask and said, would you join me in trying to bless a grandmother, a single mom, single grandmother in our community? And you guys did. You responded. And so if you didn't see the video that was posted this week throughout social media, take a look at this and see what happened. At Vision Church, we got 4 core habits we talk about often. And number 3, I preached about this morning, that you can't outgive God. Well, I challenged our church to be a part of radical generosity today, that we take up a special offering on the way out, that every dollar we gave would go to a special, wonderful lady in our community, Nancy Whitener, who's a grandmother who takes care of her 2 grandkids. Well, we saw radical generosity happen today at Vision, and watch what happened tonight when I gave her the gift from our church. Can't meet every need in life, but you can do it for one if you can't do it for all. And so I talked to our church this morning about generosity, and I told them that if they and we as a whole church wanted to, that we could put something above and beyond together and give it to your family. And we're a young church, we're a small church, but like Paul taught, it's about the heart behind it. It's not about the size. So now what's exciting is that when I found how much our church put together, I was also excited about the size. So why don't you take a look? This is the bag I had on the table in my message today. I encourage people to give. And then our team put it all together into a check. So why don't you take a look? And this is our gift to you, Nancy, and your kids.
Well, thank you so much. I just can't.
Sure.
I don't even know.
Just enjoy it.
I don't even know how God
Rip the Band-Aid off.
chooses. Oh. Oh my goodness. Well, you went overboard.
It was.
Well, his church will be blessed.
It will.
Vision will be
And
blessed.
so our church can know, because they've been interested to know, today they raised $2,000. Forgive me.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Wow!
Thank you so Wow. You know, it's just so unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. And because we have a church that is cultivating generosity, that's what can happen. And it was so neat that Nancy, she like couldn't even hardly speak. It so moved her. But she wrote us a card. She dropped off this week. I can't read the whole thing. It's like she had like a book that she wanted to share with us. But I will read you this part. It says, "What a wow of a Mother's Day from beginning to end. Great food with great mothers and their families, and the gift of a lifetime from God through all of you. Christ's prompting such generosity is still so amazing to me." You think about that, a gift of a lifetime. I mean, literally, for Nancy, that may be the highlight of this year, her life, when she feels like God spoke into her in a way that said, "I love you, Nancy. I'm with you." The song we sang about angel armies, I was like, that was God working through us to love on Nancy. So thank you for doing that. As we continue part 7 today of Starting Point, I want you to pull out, if you got your takeaway card, or like Bill talked about on your phone, and if you hadn't done that yet, check that out. It took about 10 seconds. When I opened up YouVersion this morning and found the event and did the takeaway card, and then once the event starts, you hit save, you can take it with you all week long. And part of my goal in this is that you would take what you get in here for an hour and spend time with God during the week, because He will pour into you even so much more than we can do in an hour. But as we talk today about part 7 of Starting Point, about taking next steps of faith, this topic today is such an important one, because you can be learning about the Bible and about God and about serving, getting in groups, but when God puts in front of you your potential next step of faith to take, it's on you about whether you're going to take it or not, or whether you're going to step back. And God will keep putting steps of opportunities of faith in front of you, and it's up to us to take them. Well, let's talk for a minute about faith, because as people, I think sometimes we get scared or kind of weird when we talk about this term faith, because we think of different circumstances that make us really nervous. Like, we'll show some pictures, for example, of going on a low ropes course and doing the trust fall. Has anybody ever done that, where you're standing up on this thing and you're like, okay, I hope you're back there. Like, I'm believing you're back there, and you're like, whoa, and you hold on to a tree, you're like, okay, I'm going, and they catch you, and you're like, oh. And okay, that one's not too bad. How about bungee jumping? Has anybody in here ever gone bungee jumping? Okay, who in here wants to go bungee jumping? You want to do it? Oh, yeah. The whole student section wants to go. We'll do that this summer or something now. Bungee jumping, like that picture, you're like on the edge of a cliff, and you're looking over and asking the guy, like, is this going to handle my weight? Like, have you really tested this and I'm not going to hit the ground? Is this hooked up right? It's a huge step of faith. It does. It scares you. Now, this third one, okay. Has anybody ever been noodling? Noodling. Okay, does anybody know what noodling is? You know what it is? Okay, noodling, let me explain this to you. Okay, you go out in the lake, kind of around like dusk, and you go around the edges where there's like bushes and stuff and overgrowth, and you reach underneath there to see what you can find. Okay, sometimes you find a catfish, sometimes you find a snake. If you do it in Florida, you can find a gator. I'm serious, people do this thing where they take, just get out of the boat. Come on, take this step of faith with us and noodle. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, that's not the way I want to live my life. And I'll say God doesn't look at it that way either. He looks at our next steps of faith as a way to grow our relationship with Him. He wants to have a relationship with you to where He says, let's walk together. Let's grow together. And in human relationships, we see that there's steps of faith. Because our bottom line, take a look at this. It's so simple today. Our bottom line, that God, He always wants us to take our next faith step. He always wants us. There's never a time where you won't have another faith step. You'll never get to a plateau and say, okay, I've grown enough. God is happy with me where I'm at. He'll say, no, I want you to take your next faith step. And for some people, it's just a little one right here. For others, it's farther down the journey. But He has in design for you, if you're looking forward even this week, He'll have a faith step for you to take. You say, okay, well, man, help me understand that in terms of relationships, because I really want you thinking about God in terms of this relationship that grows piece by piece. So in terms of human relationships, think about, first of all, your friends. Or honestly, it's really more like acquaintances. When you think of the dozens or hundreds of people you know, and some of them you choose to take faith steps with. You go from just seeing them at church or seeing them at work or seeing them in the neighborhood to having more of a conversation. Like, truly, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? Okay, maybe the next faith step, you text them during the week. Like, hey, I'm thinking of you. I'm praying about you. Or how you doing? Or maybe you're like, hey, why don't you come over sometime? Have dinner with us. Or let's meet out and get a burger. Or, hey, let's get our families together. Let's have some fun. There's all these steps you can take to go from acquaintance of not knowing somebody to friendship and really knowing them. Or how about with your neighbors? If you're like me, you got some people in your neighborhood, you're like, it's like a drive-by neighbor. You're like, hey, I don't really know your name, but nice to live 3 doors down from you. Okay, or maybe you're walking your dogs around the neighborhood. The next step is, I'm going to stop and introduce myself. Or maybe it's, okay, now the next time I'm out and I see you, I'm going to stop and let's have a conversation. And I really want to get to know a little bit about you. Or maybe I'm going to bring you cookies. Or maybe I'll invite you over to dinner. Or maybe I'll invite us to do something together, or you come to church. There's all the way from, hey, waving your hand, to now I know you as a person that progresses in a relationship. Now, the third one, this is where definitely the biggest kind of risk and reward ratio is in dating. Okay, so students, lock in on this one, okay? Because dating, whoo, man, it'll get you nervous when you think about all these faith steps. Because I'm going to share for a minute about my faith journey with Meg, okay? Now, she was in the first service, so she was really nervous as I started telling about the faith steps in our journey. Because when I was going to UNC Charlotte, one day I walk into the cafeteria, and I see over at a table a couple people I knew, and then a couple girls I didn't know. And one of them had long hair and a beautiful face. I thought, well, let me sit across from her. So I sit down. Okay, so first faith step is even just sitting there. Maybe start a little conversation. I'm like, oh, she's nice. I like to get to know her more. So, after having, the luxurious food of campus dining, I decided I'm going to go back and think about, okay, what should I do next? I'm like, okay, I'm going to look for her dinner. So I go back at dinner, and I'm scouting her out, like, okay, I'm going to make sure I sit next to her and have a conversation. So that's like my next faith step. Then, with some of our friends knowing each other, I said, hey, you want to go hang out as a group? She was like, nah. No, she said, okay, that'd be fine. So we hang out as a group, get to know her a little bit. Now, if you know my story about our first date, it was at a funeral. Okay, so there was a funeral, and she was going to it, so I invited myself along, but the faith step in it was then, hey, you want to go out to eat afterwards? And she did. So I'm like, okay, so we stopped, we have dinner together. Now things really started getting nervous because we're getting to know each other, spending time together. We're in the car, driving out to her parents' house one day, and I'm like, okay, this could be the hand-holding day. And I'm driving, and we're talking, and I have no idea what we're talking about. And I'm like, sure. And I'm all thinking, okay, now, should I? Is she gonna pull her hand away? And I'm like, and I put my hand over there, and she accepted it. Oh, she took my hand. I was like, great, okay, the faith step. I took it. Whew, then there was a big one, though. Weeks later, we're standing in Scott Hall. We come back from a date, and we're walking back in, and I was like, hey, I had one more question for you. I'm like, okay, how am I going to set this up? The kiss. And we go off to the side here next to the vending machines. She didn't remember any of the stuff. I was like, you don't remember these moments? And so we're standing there by the vending machines, and she's like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, oh, and I'm like trying to read her mind, like, does she want to be kissed, or does she want me to, or is like, and so I'm like, just got to try. And she turned her head. No, she did. She kissed me back, and it was like that faith step of just, man. So then from there, we're hiking up Crowder's Mountain one day, and I had a little card and a ring. Honestly, that was nowhere near as stressful as the kiss or the hand. But she takes the ring, we get engaged, we get married. All those steps along the way took our relationship to the next level. And God wants you to think of him in the same way. He doesn't want you just bungee jumping or falling or just thinking all crazy. He wants you to walk with him in a way that there's progression in your relationship, so it goes deeper and it means more. Well, today, we're going to be talking about what does the Bible teach about faith. And originally, when I was creating this message this week, I had 3 points I was going to lean into. But really, the more time I spent in this, I felt like God wanted us to spend time really focused on this guy named Caleb. So let me run you through the first 2 points. And I want you, in your takeaway card or your YouVersion, to dig into those verses more this week, because there's so much there to learn from these other parts. I could have done 3 weeks on this. But the first part is where Jesus, he teaches about faith. He talks about faith. And when you look at the Bible and think about this guy Jesus, who lived here for about 3 decades, and only 2 times in his ministry do we see that he was amazed by something or astonished by something. It moved him that strongly. So what you'll have a chance to dig into this week is that one time there was a centurion who Jesus was amazed by his faith, and another time there was the people of his hometown, and he was amazed by their lack of faith. So as you look into it this week, I want you to dig in and contrast what was different between the centurion and the people of his hometown, the people who knew Jesus, and the disparity in faith and lack of faith. Now, the second point comes from Hebrews 11. I call it the Hall of Faith. There's heroes of our faith described in this chapter, and I want you to dig into it this week to read about these people in Hebrews 11. I encourage you, even as you do it, open up Google or something and Google these different people and read about their story so you can learn what all these different names are. They're not just names in a list. They're heroes that we see took steps of faith. And even here at Vision, hey, we've got heroes. We got heroes. All that noise you heard back there, those are heroes back there teaching kids. Those are heroes over there across the hallway investing in preschoolers. Well, we've also got some heroes, and they're going overseas this summer. That's their next step of faith. So if you would, take a look at Richard and Cassie's story about faith. Oh, hey guys, good to see you this morning at Vision Church. We're shooting this video with some of my friends right here, Richard James and Cassie Hill, because they're part of our team going to Honduras, which is definitely a big faith step to do something like that. So Cassie, who is the team leader, why don't you tell us a little bit about the trip and about who's going on the trip?
Okay, like you said, I'm Cassie. I've been to Honduras. This will be my 5th time, and I'm really excited to lead this trip. And my little sister Caroline is going to get to go with us, as well as Richard and Bjorn and his son Peyton are also going. We're really excited. While we're there, we're going to go out to a village called Los Olivos, and we're going to lay concrete floors and help put some roofs on houses. But in addition to that, we're going to do some door-to-door evangelism and just play with the kids and have VBS with them in the afternoons. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That is so cool. I'm so excited about this team going. Let's talk about faith now. So Richard, how about for you, when you think about going out of the country on a mission trip, how has your faith inspired you or compelled you to do this?
Well, when I think of it, I think like we have so much here, and in Honduras they don't have as much as we're blessed to have. And so when Cassie asked me, would you want to do this? I was like, of course I would, because it gives us a chance to give back to them and give them something that we find standard, but it's very rare there.
Great stuff. Okay, Cassie, how about you? Being, especially your 5th time, or how about maybe back to your first time even? Like, what inspired you, your faith, to do something like this?
Well, I heard about Louder Than Words, the mission agency that we're going with, through Amy Moore, whose husband is the executive director, when I was in 5th grade. And I had wanted to go since then, and I planned to go the summer after 8th grade. But it was really awesome because in 7th grade, 2 weeks before spring break, I found out that a spot had opened up on a trip. It was already paid for. I didn't have to worry about that. I had saved just enough money for my birthday to get a passport expedited, and I got to go, and it was just great. And it was a big space step because I went by myself, like without my parents, and I was only in 7th grade. So.
Okay, well, how about you guys were talking about faith today, and I want you guys to learn from them in different faith steps they've taken in life. So Richard, how about when you think about times in your life when you have faced a faith step, when God put something in front of you that clearly you said, this is the next faith step God wants me to take, how did you do it? How did you get through it?
When I think of taking steps of faith, I automatically think back to the last surgery I had, which was when I was 12 years old, when I really understood what was happening. And I realized that if God can protect us here, He can protect us anywhere. If He can keep us safe on the roads driving in a car, He can keep us safe in an operating room.
Great perspective.
And we didn't make the boundaries. He didn't make the boundaries, we did.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's great. And how many surgeries have you had?
I've had 5 heart and 2 brain.
Okay, Cassie, how about you? When you faced a faith step in life, how'd you get through it? What'd you do?
I know that this year has been a struggle for me. Just going into a liberal arts college, that fear is there that you're not going to make good Christian friends and that you're not going to have that solid foundation like you have at home. And so I also have social anxiety, really bad. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I got to school. and it was a big faith step for me to talk to new people and make new friends. And but God has blessed me so much with the group of friends that I've made at Chapel Hill, and they go to RUF, which is Reformed University Fellowship, with me. We go to church together, and it's great.
It's so neat. I tell you, Vision Church, we are so blessed to have young adults in our church who love Christ and are following him faithfully. So I hope if anything you get from looking at these two is that it does inspire you to think about your faith and your next faith step. And thank y'all, Richard and Cassie, for being part of this video.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vision. See ya. All right, we are definitely blessed to have a group of 5 that are willing to do that. That's their faith step. And so you can support them, certainly with your prayers. If you want to help them on their trip, even financially, there's a tent outside. You can buy a ticket for Boston Butt. It's a big bunch of barbecue that our family's definitely getting one. And you can get one of those and support these guys and be a part of helping them take their faith step to go to Honduras. Well, we're going to talk now about a guy named Caleb. And really where we're going to focus today is this guy Caleb from the Old Testament and his story. Because I believe that he had a mentality that he said, in this life, this isn't where I belong. This is not I'm not going to be defined by what happens in this life. God wants more out of me. And so think about this for a minute. In terms of span of eternity of time, if you took a rope and tied it to that wall, and it said that's eternity past up into your life now, and eternity future, and we'd think, man, this life means everything. This is like this much or huge amounts. God says, no. Your life is so short in the span of eternity, it's like taking that rope and getting a Sharpie out and making one little mark, squeaky, right there on the rope. And that's it. That's the length of your life. You say, no, man. My life, I'm just 15 or 45 or 60. I got plenty of time to go. This week, a friend of mine, his name's George, he was out on Sparedairy Road, driving down. He saw another friend of mine, Dr. Jarman, go stop by his field and says, hey, Doc, how you doing? Good. The field's looking good, great. And George goes on his way. That's Wednesday. Thursday morning, we get up and see that First Presbyterian said, please join us in praying for the family of the Jarmans. Dr. Jarman passed away on Wednesday night. And me and Meg were like, what? We just saw him last week, and George just saw him Wednesday. This guy's gone. And literally his little slice right here of life was over. It's gone. So we got to be thinking, God, this isn't where I belong. This little piece, for eternity forward, we're going to be somewhere, doing something. And Caleb had that mentality. So let's look at his story. It comes in a book that we don't really look in a lot. It's got a strange name. It's called Numbers. And in the Old Testament, the book of Numbers comes into play when Caleb, who was an Israelite, and much of the Old Testament is talking about the people of Israel. And to give you the backstory leading up to Caleb, Caleb, he was a part of this group of people that were underneath Moses. If you know anything about the Bible a little bit, Moses was a leader with Israelites, and they were enslaved in Egypt. Now, they're in Egypt for generations as slaves until finally God brings up Moses and says, take them out. Leave that slavery, and God does miraculous things to get them out of slavery. They head out to the desert. When they're in the desert, they're wandering around, and God provides food, God provides drink. He brings them up to the Jordan River. Now, when they get to the Jordan River, you got to understand what they're thinking at this point. They get up to this Jordan River, and they're looking across at what was called the Promised Land. And if you've ever heard that term Promised Land and didn't know where it came from, generations before that, a guy named Abraham had been talking with God, and God pointed to that land and said, I promise that your descendants will have that land. So even when they were enslaved in Egypt, they had this promise in their mind that there was a better place. So they come up to the Jordan River, and they're looking at it, and Moses said, okay, that's the Promised Land, but let's send out some spies to check it out and bring back a report. So 12 guys go out. They go through the land, spying it out, going through danger, hiding out, finding information. They come back to Moses, and they go to present a report. Now, when I read some of this part here, if I give you a thumbs up, I want you to make noise like it's great news, and you're excited, you're applauding, you're cheering. If I do this, I want you to boo like I have just given you the worst news, okay? So Numbers 13 says out of the 12 spies, 10 of them, they provide a report. They gave this account. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Man, here's its fruit. There's great stuff. So the people are like, yes, great, man, that's the Promised Land. We've been waiting for it. We've heard about it. We can even see it. But in verse 28, the shift, when the spies say, okay, hey, we told you the good stuff. Yeah. But, hang on a second, but the people who live there are powerful and the cities are fortified and very large. Okay, so the people are like, wait a second. Man, God promised it to us and we're excited, but you're saying the people there are big and large? And look what they said. We even saw descendants of Anak there. Now, Anak, these were people that were known as being giants, being great warriors, being evil, mean people. So, I mean, you're sitting there in the seats listening to the report saying, man, we can't go in there. They got vicious armies. We can't do that. It says the Amalekites, they live in the Negev. The Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, they live in the hill country. And the Canaanites live near the sea along the Jordan. So, okay, so again, morale at this point is, come on, loud. And Caleb said, wait a second. Because Caleb and Joshua, they were the other two, and they stand up hearing all this negative, say, wait a second. It even says there, he says, Caleb silenced the people before Moses, the boss, Moses, sitting right here, trying to make a decision. What are they going to do? And Caleb says, wait a second. And I want to encourage you, when you read the Bible, think about what's not there. Because you read like this next sentence, listen to it. It says, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. That's what's there. What I think is not there is Caleb got up and I think said, hey guys, I know you're concerned about this, but remember Abraham? Remember the promise? Remember God said he'd give us this? Remember we were in Egypt. We were slaves in Egypt. God got us out there. He fed us in the desert. He gave us water in the desert. He led us to this moment. And then I think Caleb said, we should go up and take possession of the land. We could do this. And the people are like, they're conflicted. They don't know. But the men, the other 10 who'd gone up with them said, no, we can't attack those people. They're stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites this bad report. Caleb had the good report. These guys had the bad report. Oh, man. He said, the land we explored, it devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak. They come from those guys, the Nephilim. And look at this last thing. We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes. We look the same to them. So, okay, morale? Oh, it's terrible. They're like, look, Caleb and Joshua, you can say what you want, but we can't go in there. The people are too big. The cities are fortified. They're going to kill us, crush us if we go in there. I mean, it was so bad. Literally, the people said, I think we need to choose some more leaders, and we need to head back in the desert. You're like, what? We should have stayed in Egypt. At least we get some food there. We wouldn't get killed. What? Do you have such a short memory that you can't remember what God had said he would do for you? So there's this time of conflict. Well, Caleb, he was in this place where I said he's sitting there thinking, this isn't where I belong. I don't belong with a group of people who are going to turn back and go to the desert. God, I believe in the squeaky. I believe in that there's this mark of my life, and there's something way beyond it that in this life, I want to take faith steps. I want to go into that land and take it and make a difference for you. And yet, they all packed up, and they headed back into the desert. Now, in Caleb's life, I think we can learn a lot from his faith step, but it's not even the one he came to at the Jordan. I think it started way back, because you'll say, well, man, I'm not ready to go to Honduras. I'm not ready to stand up in front of a crowd of people and stand up for my faith. That's way too much. Caleb started way back here. When Caleb, at some point, somebody told him about God. Somebody told you about God. Caleb, at some point, decided to look into God a little more. Say, I want to find out more about God. Find out about God. I think Caleb, at some point, had to decide, is he going to apply it? Is he truly going to live out what he's learning? That's what we've been talking about, starting point. Like our core habits in the lobby of connecting and serving and giving, inviting. You say, okay, maybe that's a faith step. Caleb, at some point, he became recognized as a leader. He was a man of faith because they had a whole tribe of people, and somebody saw in him something that they chose him and said, will you be the one representative for us, the spy who goes for us? And God may be looking at you saying, is your next faith step just to serve? Is it to stand up for me? Is it to invite somebody to church? Only you will know that, not me. But somewhere on this spectrum, Caleb, he kept growing to where he stood up for God. He said he'd be a spy. You know, I think about our team here. If we were going to send spies in, honestly, I'd send Richard James. I would send him in. I say, here's a guy who heard about God, dug into God, is living out for God, is standing up for God. I'm sending him to be a spy. So even at that moment, Richard had to say, okay, I'll do it. And then the day gets closer, and we're like, now, Richard, really, when this happens, you're going into the giants. If they catch you, they will kill you. Caleb said, okay, I'll do that. Richard would say, I'll do that. Then coming back and not just saying, okay, I'm gonna keep this for myself. He sat around, I believe, the fire with these 12 spies, and the 10 of them were like, tomorrow morning, we can't tell them we can go in. We can't do this. And him and Josh were like, yeah, we can. So you'd have to make that choice. Can I decide that I'm going to stand for God and then truly get in front of the people? So I'm going to say it. I'm going to do it. So Caleb has this progression. So that even you students, you might be sitting there saying, man, I couldn't do something like that yet. And God may say, this week, do this. Do this little thing, and it's progression. Remember the relationship piece? The holding hand? What if I hadn't held her hand? The kiss? What if I hadn't kissed her? The engagement? What if I hadn't asked her? And the relationship would have just stopped. And in our relationship with God, He never wants it just to stop. So when you think about our bottom line, this bottom line that God always wants you to take your next faith step, that looks different for all of us. I was talking to a couple yesterday about heading up our outreach team. And I asked them to pray about it. I said, will you guys pray about that? You have it inside of you and the passion to lead our team of outreach so that locally and domestically we can do things that we couldn't do without a leader of a team, and they're praying about it. I saw a guy came in this morning. He's serving in preschool for the first time. He basically hit the intersection of, am I going to take that faith step or not? And he said, yes, I'm going to take it. I talked to somebody else. They said, man, I'm thinking about trying a small group. Okay, well, that's your faith step. You don't need to think about Honduras this week. You need to think about that small group. Somebody else said, man, I've got a friend. I kind of talked to him about vision. Then maybe this week, your faith step is to invite them to come with you next week. We all have a different spot where our faith step will get us to a point where it's not a bungee. I mean, it's not a trust fall. It's not a bungee. It's a moment with God to say, God, I will take another faith step with you. To say, truly, this isn't where I belong. This world is not my focus. You know, I got to do certain things, but my focus is on eternity. My focus is on the rest of the journey and what I can do impactful for God.